Hey, welcome to part 2 of Finale for Drummers, and today we're going to talk about how to transcribe a drum part. My name is Tim Buell, along with touring with Nashville artists and working here out of my home studio recording drums for people. I also have transcribed for brands like Zildjian and Vic Firth, and I've done transcription books with Aaron Sterling, Aaron Spears, Ash Sohn, and a bunch of other drummers. Transcription, for anyone that isn't familiar with that term, means hearing a drum part and then notating it, note for note, sticking for sticking, into written notation. So let's dive into it. The first step is open up Finale, and in the description below, you can actually download the exact template that I'm going to use as we walk through this so that you can kind of start at the exact same starting point that I do. And the second step is finding what you're going to be transcribing. And today we're going to transcribe 26 seconds of me playing some drums. Now, I prefer to pull up whatever I'm transcribing in a program that allows me to not only slow the audio down. I know some people think that's cheating, but we have technology at our use. Why not use it to our advantage? So I like to throw whatever I'm transcribing, whether it's audio or video, into a program that can help me slow it down, as well as loop. You can waste a lot of time transcribing, starting and stopping and trying to find where you're transcribing. So I prefer to use a program that does all that for me. I can open it up and easily set things to loop. So I use a program called Transcribe. We have the video that we're going to transcribe pulled up. So now we just need to start transcribing. And the first place that I go is I need to find the tempo of this song. So it's right around 80 BPM. So I'm going to go over to Finale, click the expression tool, double click the first measure. I'm going to go to the tempo marks and I'm going to go down to this one here. I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to do quarter note equals 80. And then in parentheses, I'm going to add slightly swung 16th notes. Because this groove does have, I'm playing kind of slightly swung 16th notes. They're not fully swung, but they're also not straight. So that note means that I won't have to write every single thing as some kind of broken triplet or something, but it still gets the point across that these aren't straight 16th notes. Let's go to this opening fill here and start transcribing. Nice little fill to get us started. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. You can hold Control and hit the plus or minus on your keyboard to zoom in. Okay, so we're starting off with a bang here. This is a pretty complicated measure. Basically what we have here is it's mostly 16th notes, but at the very beginning it starts with a splashed foot on the hi-hat and then kind of a nice little 30-second note triplet thing, which seems overwhelming, but remember we're at 80 BPM, so it's not that fast of a tempo. If you saw me do that measure and you're like, wow, what were all those key commands he was doing to switch subdivisions and things like that? Go ahead and check out part 1 of Finale for Drummers, because in there I cover in depth all the different key commands and stuff like that. This is mainly going to be you seeing me do this process. So if you're already like, oh, I don't know how to do anything he's doing, I don't know how to put any of those notes in, Finale for Drummers Part 1 is maybe where you want to start. But for all of you that are with me so far, we're going to go, and what we're going to do before we go to the next measure is we're going to add sticking for this measure. So for this sticking, as I watch the video, it seems like I'm just playing all alternating singles. You would maybe think that this 32nd note figure here was something a little bit trickier, but it's not. It seems like it's just signal. So because this whole thing is going to be 16th notes and 32nd note triplets in places and things like that, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take all the measures in our document. I'm gonna hit Control-M, and I'm going to hit number 2, and that's gonna lock 2 measures per line, and that's just gonna make this kind of read a little bit easier. Let's get into the second measure, which is actually just groove, and it's much easier than that first measure for any of you that are spooked by it. So for this one, we have right, left, right. And I'm going to adjust this second line of lyrics to be a little bit closer to this first line. So that's the second measure. What you'll notice as I transcribe these measures, I kind of start with, the basic subdivision of the whole thing. So this measure is mostly 16th notes on the hi-hat. I got those filled in, and then I found all the notes that go around it. Where's the snare drum go, where the ghost notes go, and all that stuff. I don't really ever transcribe by doing like each subdivision by subdivision. I kind of find the subdivision that holds the whole measure together and then fill in all the pieces around it. So let's go on to the third measure. Let's go ahead and add these stickings. And let's go on to measure 4. And you'll notice here in this measure, since there's a stepped hi-hat, I'm actually gonna grab this arrow and bring this first line down a little bit so that we're not having a collision there. So let's go to measure 4. So right here on the of beat 2, we have a fun little kind of buzzed ghost note thing. So I'm gonna find my Z here and add that. As I put that there, if you don't like the look of now how this beam is higher than the rest of them, what you can do is you can go your special tool, go to the beam height, and you can kind of bring all these up to be a little bit closer. Then you select your page layout tool and kind of just move these around so that they're spaced nicely on the page. And there you go. Let's add the stickings here. All right, and now we're on to measure 5. All right, so this measure is very similar to measure 3. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my select tool. I'm gonna drag all of this here, and I'm just going to drag it down to the measure I'm on, and we've copied over the good first part of this measure. So one thing we didn't cover in part 1 is how do you do tuplets, triplets in simple entry, which is what I prefer to do notation in. And to do that, what you can do is you can use the right arrow key to arrow over to your current beat that you're working on. And you can see I have a gray note head that's kind of floating there that I can up and down arrow to move wherever I want. I want to go to the rack tom and I want to put this triplet, it's 3 16th note triplets on the first half of the measure. So what I'm going to do is, now that I'm on the rack tom where I like it, I'm going to hit Control-9. That's going to bring up my Tuplet tool. And since I'm selected on the number 3, I can hit Enter 3 times now. And I have a 16th note triplet. And then I can hit Control 9, and that disables the Tuplet tool. And I can finish off this measure with the 2 rack toms that I think it ends on. Yeah, that's that measure. Let's go to the next measure. All right, moving on to measure 7. So the very end of this measure ends on something kind of crazy. So I'm going to go to that last beat. So those are 30-second notes, I believe. So let's go even slower. Let's go down to 50% speed. Yeah, so the rest of that measure is the normal groove thing we've been hearing, but the very end of the measure starts this kind of crazy fill, and that carries into measure 8. So let's go there. So there's that madness. Let's listen to those 2 measures back to back just so we can hear it in context. And at full speed. Fun stuff. All right, and we have landed at the very final measure. This is measure 9, so let's go ahead and transcribe it. All right, so that's the final measure. So now that I have that sticking in there, I'm gonna go ahead and hide, go to the staff tool, select these 2 measures and hit H. That hides those 2 measures. And then I can go to my measure tool, select the measure I don't need on this page, go to the very end of the document, hold Shift and select the last measure, hit delete, and that deletes all the unused measures. And now we have some beautiful sheet music that looks like this. So So that's the final transcription. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions at all, go ahead and leave those in the comments. I'm trying to respond to as many of those as I can. Like I said, you can download my template below. You can also download this sheet music now that it's done. You can download that below. There's all kinds of great information down there. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much.